What's going on, guys? GloveSaveHockey here. In today's video, we're going to be looking ahead to the remaining free agents in the 2026 UFA class, and we're going to be predicting what kind of contract they have. I've picked 13 players in the NHL that are set to hit unrestricted free agency this summer. 6 forwards, 4 defensemen, and 3 goalies. We're going to predict their contracts. I'm also going to say before I start, I'm not predicting exactly like what team they're going to end up with. I might mention with each guy if I think they're going to stay or going to go, but I think it's a bit too early to predict in accordance to team cap projection on where exactly guys might end up. First guy we're going to begin with up front is Adrian Kempe of the LA. Adrian Kempe is a first-line winger in the NHL with scoring touch, especially in high-leverage situations. He's dangerous in transition, off the rushes, and in situations where he can use his space effectively. Kempe isn't the greatest defensively overall if we take a look at his analytics card from this season, but I would say for the most part throughout his career, like he hasn't been like a liability. He's kind of getting a little bit of an edge to his game as well, which makes him kind of a little bit of like a power forward type style with being able to score goals as well. Makes him really dangerous, especially in the playoffs. If we take a look at his current contract, he signed a 4-year deal with the LA Kings back in 2022. $5.5 million cap hit, $22 million in total. If we take a look even before that, coming off his ELC, he signed a 3-year deal at $6 million, paying him $2 million per season. So Adrian Kempe really hasn't had a huge payday in his career so far. 29 years old at the moment, about to be 30 years old when his next contract will kick in. My prediction for Adrian Kempe is he's going to sign a 7-year deal paying him $12.25 million per season, and I do not think that this contract will end up being with the LA Kings. I think he'll end up hitting the open market, and that's why I think he might get a little bit more than some of these wingers signed recently. Marty Necas, Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen, Kyle Connor, and I think a team is going to love to get Adrian Kempe. So the next UFA forward we're going to be talking about is Artemi Panarin of the New York Rangers. Panarin is a highly skilled offensive forward whose game is built on vision, creativity, passing, puck control, and smart decision making. He's good at setting up both team and scoring goals himself, especially on the power play and in situations where he can exploit open ice or even defensive breakdowns. I will say Panarin, not a really good start to the season. As you can tell, 14 games in, he's got 7 points. 4 of those 7 points came against the Montreal Canadiens in one of the first games of the season. As you can tell, this is one of the best defensive seasons he's been having over the past couple seasons. He's usually a little bit under average defensively. Not a liability, but I mean, he's showing that he can be better defensively this year, but I mean, he's sacrificing his offensive game right now. They're paying him to be a highly productive offensive player, and he's really not showing that at this time. If we take a look at Panarin and his past 8 contracts, he signed with the New York Rangers on a 7-year deal at $11.6 million. Before that, he signed with Chicago, but then was traded to Columbus, a 2-year deal at $12 million, where he's getting paid $6 million per season. It seems like right now, in accordance to Artemi Panarin and the Rangers, he looks like he's trying to get as much money as possible. He doesn't seem like he's willing to take a discount to stay there, at least at this time with the New York Rangers missing the playoffs last year, and then not looking like at this moment they're going to be making the playoffs this year. So for Artemi Panarin and the New York Rangers, I think that Panarin's going to end up getting traded at the deadline because the Rangers will be out of it. I think his next contract, wherever he ends up going, is going to be a 4-year deal, paying him $11.25 million per season. 34 years old right now. He'll be 35 when the contract kicks in. I think a team will end up overpaying Artemi Panarin to come in to be like a highly productive offensive player, and he'll get paid until he's 39 years old. The next UFA forward we're going to be talking about is Alex Tuch, currently playing for the Buffalo Sabres. Alex Tuch is a big, strong, physical power forward who can crash the net, block shots, and play in tight areas. He contributes at both ends of the ice, scoring, but also doing less flashy work like blocking shots, forechecking, playing on the penalty kill as well, and he's really good in front of the net, getting into the scoring areas, redirecting shots, getting rebounds in dirty area goals. Tuch is having a little bit of an inconsistent season in accordance to his defensive play right now, sitting in the 14th percentile. And as you can tell, in past seasons, he's been a lot better than that. But his offense is still there. Really high impact at the moment. 12 points in 13 games. Last year was a little bit of a down season according to point production with 68 points. The year before, he was in the 70s, so you're hoping you can get back there if you are Alex Tuch and the Buffalo Sabres. Alex Tuch is coming off a 7-year deal where he's getting paid $4.75 million per season. He signed this when he was with the Vegas Golden Knights before. He was traded in the Jack Eichel deal to the Buffalo Sabres. Alex Tuch has had a pretty good career so far, to be quite honest with you. I really enjoy the player he is, and I really wonder if Buffalo is going to be able to re-sign him or not, with him being from the state of New York and enjoying playing for the Buffalo Sabres. But the lack of success from the Buffalo Sabres and him looking at his old team in Vegas and how good they're doing, they've won a Stanley Cup without him as well. I do wonder if he is kind of fed up with it and wants to go somewhere else to try and win. Regardless of this, I have him signing a 7-year deal, paying him $9.25 million per season. I think he's a little bit of a lower tier to some of the guys we've talked about previously that have either recently signed or are still in the UFA market. I think if you can get Alex Tuch for under $10 million with the cap going up, it's a pretty good deal. The next UFA forward we're going to be talking about is Nick Schmaltz, currently playing for the Utah Mammoth. Nick Schmaltz is a fast, intelligent, and creative forward who thrives in transition and excels at generating offense through vision and precise passing. He's best utilized in a top 6 role with line mates who can finish his setups and making him a key offensive driver for his team. Some of the best parts of his game are his hands and puck control, his skating and agility, and his playmaking and vision. He's also been a pretty solid two-way player throughout the course of his career. As you can tell, he's basically been getting better every single season, and this year he's currently in the 92nd percentile, the best season he's ever had defensively, and probably the best start he's ever had offensively as well, with 8 goals and 10 assists for 18 points in 14 games. I really like Nick Schmaltz's game. I think he's more of transition into a winger than a center at this point. I wonder if he leaves Utah this summer, if someone's going to try and bring him in to play center. But at least you have the versatility of him being able to play on the wing as well, and being able to play with really good players. I like Nick Schmaltz a lot. I'm just not 100% sure if what he's doing right now is sustainable. I don't know if he's going to end up finishing around a point per game or if he will tail off, kind of be in that 65 to 70 point range. Regardless of that, there's not a lot of key guys that are going to be on the market this summer, so I still think Nick Schmaltz is going to get somewhat of a payday. I've got his contract at 6 years, $7.5 million. I do think Utah is probably going to end up moving on from him. He's going to end up going somewhere else, and I think Utah is going to really try and bring in a second-line center with the money that they're going to save from not signing Nick Schmaltz. But regardless, wherever Nick Schmaltz ends up, should be a good player to add for the team, as long as you're not paying him too much money. The next UFA we're going to be talking about is from the Montreal Canadiens, and it's going to be Patrik Laine. Now, Patrik Laine is definitely an interesting player. He's a high-end elite goal scorer. He has a sniper mentality, deadly one-timer. He's pretty strong puck control, and he is streaky, but he is lethal when he's on. He can score 10 goals in 10 games, 14 goals in 16 games if you need him to. As you can tell, his 5-on-5 play is super poor. His impact on 5-on-5 is almost like 4th line level, but when you put him on the power play, I don't want to say it's automatic, but it's more likely than not that something could happen. 20 goals and 13 assists for 33 points in 52 games last year. Obviously missed 30 games due to injury. He has an injury this season as well where he's only played in 5 games. Sports hernia injury is going to keep him out probably close to the Olympics. Not too sure if he's going to end up being back for that. So there's no player card. He hasn't played enough minutes this year to get a player card basically. So we're going to be looking at some of his analytics from last year. His finishing ability is obviously really good. His impact 5-on-5 is pretty poor. He started on the 4th line this year while getting power play 2 minutes with the Montreal Canadiens. Patrik Laine is coming off a 4-year contract paying him $8.7 million per season, which he signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets. If we take a look before that, he had a 1-year deal at $7.5 million that he also signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was there for a couple years. And in Winnipeg before that, he had a 2-year deal paying him $6.75 million. So basically, this contract he's on now is the highest term he's ever got in 4 years. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think he's getting a higher term than 4 years on his next deal. Such a streaky player. I don't think a top-end team is going to want to bring him in and pay him the money that he's probably going to want. I think he's probably going to end up going to a team that's out of the playoffs and is struggling to score goals, and they can come in and he can be a guy that can get them an easy goal at times. I think Patrik Laine is going to sign a 2-year deal at $7 million. I could see him going to a team maybe like Chicago or even like a Calgary, a team that is really struggling to score goals this year. Maybe they want a guy like Laine on the power play that can give them an easy goal at times. So Patrik Laine, 2-year deal at $7 million. I don't think it's going to be with the Canadiens. On to the next UFA forward. It's going to be Kiefer Sherwood, who currently plays for the Vancouver Canucks. Kiefer Sherwood is a high-energy physical forward known for his relentless forechecking, work ethic, and north-south game rather than His pure offensive finesse, he has an excellent motor, obviously a great physical edge, and he's strong along the boards. Kiefer Sherwood is currently looking for the Cy Young Award with 9 goals and 0 assists for 9 points, kind of in that top echelon of goal scoring so far this season. As you can tell, analytically, not really looking the greatest so far. His offensive impact is really being driven by his finishing ability so far this season. Points, he's playing pretty well. If I was the Vancouver Canucks, I'd probably put the brakes on a bit in accordance to giving him a contract extension at the moment right now, considering this is probably the highest he's going to look at any part of this season. I'd be probably waiting until around Christmas time to get this done and see what kind of money he's asking for around that time, because I'm not too sure if what Kiefer Sherwood is doing right now is unsustainable. I will say that I think he's probably like a third-line winger at this point, the way he's able to produce offensively and put his physical edge onto each game. He's currently coming off a 2-year deal with the Canucks, paying him $1.5 million. Nashville, I really felt like dropped the ball in this one by not re-signing him when he came off a 1-year deal at league minimum. Even before that, with Nashville, a 1-year deal at league minimum, considering he had the most hits in NHL history last year in the regular season with over 400. I think in his first 30 games, he had like 20-something 10-plus hit games. Like, it was just nuts the way he was going. Kiefer Sherwood, I think he's a very impactful player, but I'd be a little bit eerie on giving him a lot of money right now, considering this is the best he's looking in his UFA year. I've got Kiefer Sherwood signing a 5-year deal at $4.75 million. I know that might sound a lot considering what I just said, but with the cap going up, I think Kiefer Sherwood definitely has a leg to stand on in accordance to being a physical bottom 6 player that can also score goals. I think Vancouver should definitely look to re-sign him, but definitely wait a bit until his hot start cools off. All right, so now we're moving on to UFA defensemen. The first guy we're going to talk about is Darren Raddysh, who currently plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Darren Raddysh is a two-way puck-moving defenseman known for his offensive instincts, composure with the puck, and developing reliability in his own zone. He's a really strong puck mover. He's definitely got an offensive mindset, which I think is one of the hardest shots in the NHL from the point, and he does provide value on the power play. Like, people don't realize, right when they lost Steven Stamkos, they tried Darren Raddysh as that guy to take one-timers on the power play from the left side. He's having a pretty poor start to the year, I can't lie. He's played in 7 games where he's got a goal and 2 assists for 3 points, and his defensive impact has been super poor this season. If we go back to previous seasons, though, he's looked a lot better. He's put up 2 straight 35-point seasons where he was in the 91st percentile last year of offensive impact, and he was in the 56th percentile of defensive impact, and even the season before that, he was a little bit better. So what I'm saying is I think this is just a rough start for Darren Raddysh defensively to the season, where he's shown in the past that he can be reliable defensively. I think as a right-handed shooting defenseman, there's going to be a ton of interest in Darren Raddysh. I'm not too sure if Tampa Bay and their cap situation is going to want to pay him a decent amount of money, considering he is coming off a contract where he's basically getting league minimum at $975,000 for the past 2 years. He was undrafted to the NHL, signed with the Hartford Wolfpack, and ended up making his way over to the Syracuse Crunch and making it up to the NHL to play with the big club in the Tampa Bay Lightning. For Darren Raddysh, he is going to be 30 years old when he's hitting the open market. I think he's going to sign a 3-year deal at $3.5. I think a team might bring him in to potentially run the second power play, and if they're just even short of right-handed defensemen in general, because they are really hard to come by. The next UFA defenseman we're going to be talking about is Rasumus Andersson, who currently plays for the Calgary Flames. Rasumus Andersson is a right-shot two-way defenseman known for his strong hockey IQ, poise with the puck, and his balanced mix of offensive and defensive reliability. He's definitely become a key piece of the Calgary Flames blue line due to his consistency to play in all situations and at both ends of the ice. Now, Rasumus Andersson is a really interesting case because I think this is a guy where a lot of people are just figuring he's not going to end up re-signing with the Calgary Flames long term. I will say that I think he's having a better season this year than he did last year. Has gone up last year compared to the last couple years, sitting in the 54th percentile of defensive reliability. Now, with the Calgary Flames and Rasumus Andersson, I think you're kind of looking like, what kind of package are we going to get for him? Do we want prospects? Do we want picks? Do we want immediate impact health? It's going to definitely depend on what Craig Conroy and the rest of the Flames staff are really looking for. He signed a 6-year deal with the Flames, paying him $4.5 million. That's not a lot considering what Rasumus Andersson can provide you. I think that Rasumus Andersson is definitely a better player than $4.5 million and has definitely provided some surplus value in at least a couple seasons of this deal. I'm not too sure if he's going to go out and try to get like the most money possible, but I think he's going to be looking for a decent pay raise considering the cap is going up and he's never really had a great payday. I've got Rasumus Andersson hitting the open market this summer, and he's going to be getting a 7-year deal paying him $8.25 million. I think considering he's a top 4 defenseman, I wouldn't really label him as a top pairing defenseman, but there is not a lot of right-handed defensemen available, and I think considering he can be an impact at both ends of the ice, there's going to be a lot of interest in him, and I think he can drive his price up to $8.25 million per season. Third UFA defenseman we're going to be talking about is John Carlson of the Washington Capitals. John Carlson is a veteran offensive-minded defenseman known for his puck-moving ability, his elite vision, smooth skating, and ability to quarterback a power play. He's one of the NHL's top two-way blue liners when it comes to combining offensive production and defensive dependability. I like John Carlson a lot. I wasn't the biggest fan of him before the Caps won the Stanley Cup, but he's really strived me in the other direction over the past 6 or 7 years. Just knowing that he can play a first pairing role still. I wouldn't say he's a number 1 guy anymore at this point, but he can still provide you some reliability in the defensive and offensive zone. He's kind of running the second power play at this point with the emergence of Jacob Chychrun coming into Washington. John Carlson is coming off an 8-year contract extension where he was paid $8 million. I believe this happened right after that the Caps won the Stanley Cup. Made $64 million on that contract. Before that, he was on a 6-year deal paying him $3.97 million per season. He's only making under $4 million a year. The Caps won the Cup, which is pretty nuts to me. I'm not quite sure John Carlson is looking for a lot of money on this next contract. I think he's probably going to end up... I'm not too sure that John Carlson is looking to, like, quote-unquote, break the bank in this next contract. I think with him being 35 years old, he's going to be 36 by the time this new contract kicks in. I think he's probably going to end up wanting to stay in Washington and finish out his career and potentially go on another Stanley Cup run with Ovi and some of the guys he's been around with for quite some time. I've got John Carlson staying in Washington on a 2-year deal at $6 million per season. I think he'll leave a little bit of money on the table for them to surround him with some other good parts, and I think John Carlson will stay in the nation's capital. The final UFA defenseman we're going to be talking about is Jamie Oleksiak of the Seattle Kraken. Now, Jamie Oleksiak is a big physical, stay-at-home defenseman who blends his size, reach, and surprisingly good mobility to play a steady, defensive-minded game. He is sitting at 6'7" and over 250 pounds, so it's not the easiest to get around the ice, but I think him that big, it's definitely not a liability for him. He has really strong physical play being that size. His reach and stick work is obviously really good, and he's a really good penalty killer as well at the same time. So I think he's kind of a key part of Seattle's system that a lot of people don't give the recognition to because they do have some guys that are younger and a little bit flashier than Jamie Oleksiak. But if you take a look over the last couple seasons, he's been above average defensively and playing at a really high defensive impact role this season. Playing third pairing minutes, though, I feel like Jamie Oleksiak is almost a really solid number 5 that can fill in a number 4 role at times if needed, considering he is a good skater for his size. It's not like he's going to get burned playing a lot more minutes. Now, Jamie Oleksiak is coming off a 5-year deal, which he signed with the Seattle Kraken after being taken in the expansion draft, where he was getting paid $4.6 million per season. Before that, he spent some time with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He signed a 3-year contract with them where he was getting paid $2.14 million per season. Also spent some time with the Dallas Stars as well. Before that, he's been kind of around in a lot of different places before being in Seattle. I like Jamie Oleksiak a lot. I think, like I said, a number 4 to 5 defenseman is kind of where I have him on a depth chart of like a Stanley Cup winning team. I think you're in a really good spot if you have him on the bottom pair. I've got Jamie Oleksiak signing a 4-year deal this summer at the age of 33, paying him $4.85 million per season. And I wonder if a team that is consistently making the playoffs but maybe doesn't have enough meat on their back end goes in and maybe overpays for a guy like Jamie Oleksiak this summer, considering he can play the left and right side. And I think Jamie Oleksiak will be leaving the Kraken this summer and hitting the open market. All right, so now we are moving on to our goaltenders, and the first UFA goaltender we're going to be talking about is Cam Talbot, who currently plays for the Detroit Red Wings. Cam Talbot's a veteran goaltender, known for his technically sound, composed, and steady positioning in the crease. relies on his structure and experience rather than his raw athleticism. He's a very positionally sound goalie, known for his butterfly technique and his rebound management, and he's getting better at playing the puck as well. One thing that I've really realized about Cam Talbot over the last couple of years. Now, he had a pretty good start to the season, but I don't think it's been kind of as consistent as his first couple games were. He hasn't played as much as John Gibson. They've been kind of in a back and forth role. Talbot gets a couple games, Gibson gets a couple games. He's sitting in the 47th percentile overall and 16th percentile in 5-on-5 play, which is definitely not too good. They're running this older tandem this year, but I think with Sebastian Cossa, one of their goalie prospects, coming into the fold next season, I'm not too sure if Cam Talbot's going to be back, considering he's an unrestricted free agent this summer and John Gibson is not. So currently right now he's sitting 34th in the NHL in goals saved above expected with 1.5 in 7 games this season. Cam Talbot is coming off a 2-year contract with the Red Wings where he's getting paid $2.5 million per season. At his age, he's going to be 39 years old when he's signing this next contract. I don't think it's going to be a big one whatsoever. I also don't think it's going to be with the Detroit Red Wings. I think Cam Talbot is going to sign a 1-year contract at $3.5 million. Not quite too sure where that's going to end up being this summer. Obviously, goaltending is pretty voodoo. You could say a team needs a goaltending now, but they might not need a goaltender in 8 months from now. So I think he'd be a pretty solid veteran option to bring in as a 1B guy that could still play 30 to 40 games. But I do think that Cam Talbot is going to end up in a different spot this offseason. The second goalie we're going to be talking about today is Frederik Andersen of the Carolina Hurricanes. Frederik Andersen is a calm, technically sound positional goaltender who relies on efficiency and size rather than his flash or athleticism. His game is built around consistency and control in his crease. He has really strong fundamentals, making him a steady, reliable presence in net. Some of the best things about Frederik Andersen: puck handling, rebound control, his butterfly technique, and his calm and composed play, which allows his teammates to play a lot more freely, knowing that he's a calm presence back there. Freddie Andersen is having a pretty solid start to the season. I wouldn't say that I haven't seen him play better than he is right now. He's kind of not playing as much as he usually would. I think Carolina is really trying to control the amount of starts they give him this season, even though Pyotr Kochetkov is just coming back from injury. Brandon Bussi has had a couple starts in there. I do like the way they're managing him, though, considering he has missed a lot of time over the past couple seasons. I know there was a freak blood clot issue that I wouldn't consider an injury that he's been dealing with, you know what I mean? He's had some past injuries where it's kind of reoccurring, but last year with the blood clot thing, it really wasn't a reoccurring injury. It was just kind of like a freak accident. Now, I really like the way that the Carolina Hurricanes are managing Freddie Andersen's workload this year, only playing in 7 games. He does have 4 wins. Pyotr Kochetkov has been injured, minus just starting a 1 game earlier this week. Brandon Bussi, who they acquired on waivers, has had a decent amount of starts. So with Freddie Andersen getting up there at age 36, I do like the way they're managing his workload. Now, just like Cam Talbot, Freddie Andersen, he's sitting at 31st overall in the NHL this year with 2.1 saves. With 2.1 goals saved above expected. He is usually a little bit higher than that. I do think, like I said, there's a lot more for Freddie Andersen to give, and maybe with this less workload, they can get a little bit more out of him. So this offseason, he signed a 1-year deal with Carolina at $2.75 million, which I thought was an absolute bargain considering some of the UFA goalie signings this offseason. I understand he is a lot older than a lot of those other guys, but I do think he has proved a lot more than those other guys and basically got half the amount of money than some of those other guys got. So for Freddie Andersen this offseason, he will be turning 37 years old, but I think he's still a solid 1A/1B option considering how much he can play. I've got him re-signing with the Carolina Hurricanes, a 2-year deal at $4.35 million. They're probably going to end up running back Kochetkov and Freddie Andersen next season, and I think Freddie Andersen's still a solid option. All right, so the third goalie we are going to be talking about is Edmonton Oilers starting goaltender Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner is a calm, technically sound goaltender, known for his composure, positioning, and ability to stay square to the puck. He's known for having pretty good rebound control and puck handling skills. Now, Stuart Skinner, a lot of people are not a big fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of Stuart Skinner either, but the one thing I will say is he's not really having a bad season so far. sitting in the 66th overall percentile of all goaltenders and 59th percentile of 5-on-5 play. His goals saved above expected is actually really solid compared to like Cam Talbot and Frederik Andersen that we were just talking about. 3.5 goals saved above expected in 10 starts this year. That's 21st best in the NHL. So, I mean, I'd still probably be looking for a guy to play with Stuart Skinner if I was the Oilers. I don't think Calvin Pickard is good enough, but I think Stuart Skinner is like a pretty solid like 1B option, to be quite honest. A lot of people are saying he's not even an NHL goaltender. I couldn't disagree more. I think he is a pretty solid NHL goaltender, but I don't think he's a starting goaltender in the NHL. Stuart Skinner will be a UFA this summer at age 27, which is really young. He's coming off a 3-year deal with the Oilers, paying him $2.6 million. That was his first contract outside of his entry-level contract. I do think that Stuart Skinner will be getting a little bit of a raise this offseason, despite if some people agree or not. I think Stuart Skinner is looking somewhere in a 4-year contract at $4.85 million. I think he's a solid 1B option, and I think this is kind of the range of 1B goaltenders that we might be seeing with the cap going up the next couple seasons. I think the Oilers should definitely look into re-signing him if the money isn't too much, because I don't think there's a lot of availability of goaltenders out there. So I was actually wrong before getting into the nitty-gritty of the video. I do have 4 goaltenders that we're going to talk about. The last one is back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Sergei Bobrovsky. So obviously, people have seen a lot of Sergei Bobrovsky recently, winning back-to-back Stanley Cups, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals in the year prior. But if you don't know a lot about him, he's a highly athletic, explosive goaltender, known for his agility, reflexes, and his battle level in the crease. His playing style blends more of a technical structure. He does have a lot of athleticism to his game as well, making him one of the most NHL's dynamic goaltenders. His reflexes is unbelievable. His butterfly foundation taking up basically the whole bottom part of the net, and he's got a very high competitive level. A lot of things about Sergei Bobrovsky, he looks like he's down and out in plays, and he comes out and makes a ridiculous save. He is never willing to give up on pucks. As you can tell with his analytics card this season, he is not off to the greatest start. But the one thing I will say is he was not off to the greatest start last season. He was not off to the greatest start last season either, and he picked it up as well. 14th overall percentile, 53rd percentile in 5-on-5 play. I think some of the special teams numbers are really bringing him down. If you take a look at his season prior, 61st percentile overall and at 5-on-5 play. So he really did pick it up last season, kind of at that midway part. Definitely wasn't like a Vezina finalist or anything, but definitely the best goaltender in the playoffs last year. If we take a look overall in goals saved above expected this year, 61st overall in the league. Not looking too good at minus 2.6 goals saved above expected. Now, he signed a 7-year contract with the Florida Panthers back in 2019 where he's getting paid $10 million per season. There was a ton of criticism towards this contract because the first couple years, he was not looking too good. He lost his job on a couple playoff runs. Alex Lyon came in. Spencer Knight even came in after he came out of college, and people did not know if this contract was going to be worth it. But getting to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals and winning 2 of them, there is no doubt in my mind that Sergei Bobrovsky is a first ballot Hall of Famer and is worth this contract. See, the thing with Bobrovsky is he's going to be 38 years old when his next contract kicks in, but I think Florida is going to do the same style contract that they did with Brad Marchand to keep the AAV down. I think Sergei Bobrovsky is going to sign a 4-year contract, paying him $4.75 million per season. I know this is going to take him till he's 42, and he might not be playing at the end of this contract, but at the same time, he doesn't really look like he's aging much. He might be able to be a solid 1B option into his 40s if they can get another guy to come in to play a lot of minutes. Maybe that guy is Daniil Tarasov. We're not really too sure at this point, as he's only really played kind of backup minutes at this point of his career. But Sergei Bobrovsky, there's no doubt in my mind the Panthers are re-signing him, and I think he's going to be taking a little bit of a discount on a longer-term deal. All right, so that is going to do it for my UFA contract predictions. Let's take a look at all of these predictions one more time. We've got Adrian Kempe, 7 times 12.25. Panarin, 4 times 11.25. Tuch, 7 times 9.25. Laine, 2 times 7 million. Sherwood, 5 times 4.75 million. On to defenseman, Darren Raddysh, 3 times 3.5. Rasumus Andersson, 7 times 8.25. John Carlson, 2 times 6 million. And Jamie Oleksiak, 4 times 4.85. And on to the 4 goaltenders, Cam Talbot, 1 times 3.5. Frederik Andersen, 2 times 4.35. Stuart Skinner, 4 times 4.85. And Sergei Bobrovsky, 4 times 4.75. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell to stay tuned for future notifications.